In 2018, I completed 80 pen and ink line drawings, scanned them in, and they became the black and white first edition of the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. The 2019 sepia-toned Vitruvian Edition is named after Vitruvius, a Roman architect who taught that every structure must exhibit a trinity of qualities: stability, utility, and beauty. The Vitruvian triad inspired Leonardo da Vinci, whose ink of choice, sepia. One of his most notable sepia ink sketches was the Vitruvian Man. In 2020, as a result of the quarantine and municipal shutdown, I had a great deal of time on my hands. The line work you see in this third edition, the Revelation, is still done by hand and scanned in, but then the coloring is by way of digital painting techniques that I taught myself in 2020. For the SKT Revelation, I've reimagined cultural landmarks and historical sites from Angkor Wat, the city of temples in Cambodia, to 14th century Timbuktu and Mexico Tenochtitlan, to late Romantine and Byzantine Alexandria. You'll see Florence during the Renaissance, the Taj Mahal along the Yamuna River, and the ancient Sumerian city of Uruk. Visit the verdant lands of the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, the islands of Oceania that the Austronesian navigators of the seas landed on, Athens and Sparta, or a journey along the Silk Road, the Arctic tundra, or pre-Columbian Andes. In the skies, you'll see the Eye of God, Helix Nebula, the Pleiades, Arcturus, Draco, Orion, and the Aurora Borealis, just to name a few. Astrology, numerology, alchemy, and a portfolio of mystical traditions converge to engineer a deck that can jailbreak your own mind and gain you access to your full psychic and spiritual potential. Or at least those are my hopes and aspirations for the deck and for you. Welcome to the video orientation series for SKT Revelation Edition. I am recording this on the hour of sunrise. While the deck is still in the original order the deck creator intended, I like to go through the cards one by one in sequential order. I think the first thing you may notice is that the printing of this run is a little bit on the lighter side. That was not intended. The samples I had approved were a little bit different from this particular coloration. But then I realized the way that this is lighter and muted, it almost gives it that illuminated look. It is what's giving it that illuminated look. And so because the premise of the deck is Spirit Keeper's Tarot, I intended for this to be sacred work. It all worked out quite well. I like to ask my cards, show me the path of light. I'll shuffle and ask the question and try to convert my question or prompt, request, petition into energy, chi, life force, and weave it through the cards as I shuffle. Show me the path of light. Show me the path of light. And then I pull a card. Once you pull a card, start with the little white booklet. I really hope the white booklet will be of use to you. The little white booklet does have a table of contents, so you can begin there and look up the card meaning of the card that you just drew. Single card draws is also a great way to get into the Book of Maps in bite-sized chunks. So the card that I just drew, I will look it up and I will read the card entry in the Book of Maps. Now that one card you drew for Show Me the Path of Light, bottom left corner, there is a trigram, 3 lines, either broken or straight lines. That is a I Ching trigram. So in your little white booklet on page 80, there's a reference table of the 8 trigrams. Look up which one that is. For me, the one I pulled was the trigram Earth. Now, the lower trigram in this column on the next page for this particular exercise that I'm walking you through is going to be heaven. And in the final workshop that closes out this series, I'm going to explain why. So for now, just follow along and we will get the rationale at the end of this series. For the lower trigram, that's the first column, you're going to look for the trigram heaven. For the upper trigram, that's the second column over, you're going to look for the trigram that you just pulled. Now, if you pulled one of the cards that has an X with the 4 dots, then you're going to be looking for heaven over heaven, which is easy because that's hexagram 1, creative power. Now, if you did not pull an X with the 4 dots and you pulled one of the 8 trigrams, find it in that second row for upper trigram. And remember, the first row for lower trigram is heaven. So for example, mine was earth. So I'm going to look for heaven in the lower trigram and earth in the upper trigram. That's going to be earth over heaven. That happens to be hexagram 11, harmony. In the back of your book of maps, I've provided 64 short form oracles that I've translated from the Book of Changes. Now I will look up hexagram 11, that's harmony, balance, and read that entry as an oracle message from Spirit as part of that guidance to show me the path of light right now where I'm at. Same with you. Remember, the lower trigram was heaven, and the upper trigram is the trigram you pulled from the card just now. Now look up your oracle message from the Book of Changes. In this video, I want to try to make the case and present to you why the Spirit Keepers Tarot deck is an easy tarot deck to read. It's not difficult. At least it's no more difficult than just tarot in general. If anything, what I would assert is that the tarot in general is complicated and difficult. So in that sense, the Spirit Keepers Tarot deck is no more or less complicated than tarot in general. And here I paused the video, went to go get some breakfast, and did my hair and makeup, and you'll see what I mean. If I may speculate, I also think that another reason there's that presumption that the Spirit Keepers Tarot deck is complicated and difficult is because I think people assume you must work with the SKT under a formalist approach. Formalism is a philosophy where we are saying that there is no true meaning except the true meaning defined by the content creator. You cannot transcend the original intentions of the content creator. That's a philosophy. It's the formalist approach to interpreting art, the law, jurisprudence, literature. So I'm guessing, my speculation is that people assume you have to adopt a formalist approach when using the tarot. And that just could not be farther from reality, or even further from my hopes and intentions for the deck. It's just nothing more than one of multiple options that you can choose from in terms of a model or a philosophy of interpretation. Under a formalist approach, the presumption is that everything that is my intention for the deck, my interpretation, my definitions, my everything, because I am the content creator of the deck, is the rule. It follows. And that is the only and rigid way that you have to interpret this particular deck when using this deck formalist approach. I think people are presuming you have to have memorized this book. You need to know everything that is in this book. And the only way to interpret readings with the SKT is whatever this book says. And that just could not be farther from reality, or even further from my hopes and intentions for the deck. Another popular tarot card reading approach is storytelling. So this is when you pull a card and try to figure out what story the card is telling. This doesn't work as well in the Marseille system necessarily. There's a particular way of reading the Marseille, and even dare I argue to an extent, the Thoth or any of these sort of more overtly Golden Dawn based decks. One reason, RWS is a Golden Dawn deck, but one reason I suspect the Rider-Waite-Smith is so popular is because it does lend itself very well to the storytelling approach. You know how some movies or novels just stay with you, that you emotionally attach to because something about that fictional story speaks to your real life experiences? The storytelling approach in tarot presumes that prophetic, predictive, or divinatory stories can be told through the cards, and the divinatory story that the cards are telling you are a metaphor for how to process your real life experiences. One of the things you notice is when you watch a movie, right, with several of your friends or relatives or people from very different backgrounds or have very different personal stories and maybe even different cultures. They watch the same movie. Sure, there's this sort of defined like theme or something from the movie that all of us universally get from what we just watched, but we all take away something very different from it. And I think that is where we get into the storytelling approach, and understanding that gives you a sense of how you really cannot look at authorial intention, authorial as in my intentions as the content creator for this deck. There is a defined underlying, like a common denominator of ideas we all get from pulling certain cards, but then the impression, and that's what matters, because remember, the story that the cards are telling you in the storytelling approach is divinatory for you. So you really have to focus on the impression, the emotion that is only you, that unverified personal gnosis that people love to talk about, but really that is what's important. So I am recording this video on a Saturday morning, and so I want to ask my cards, what's in play for me this weekend? What's in play for me this weekend? What's in play for me this weekend? Then I pull a single card. I have the Empress. Oh, it's going to be a very fruitful and productive weekend. Oh no, I kind of wanted it a not productive and boring and lazy weekend. So Empress for once, is not a good sign. I did not want it to be productive. Anyway, so let's look up key 3, the Empress, in the little white booklet and see what it has to say about this particular card. Key 3, the Empress. You are on the verge of producing a work of worthy admiration. Okay, so I want to see how it applies to everyday life. So in terms of where I am right now, well, as many of you know, right now I'm in the process of packing and delivering out the pre-ordered decks. So that has been occupying all of my time. Right now, I'm taking a little time off to film these videos while James is working hard already, even though it's only 9 a.m. to pack and get everybody's pre-orders or decks ready, packages ready. Okay, hopes become reality. And that's true, right? Like for so long, SKT Revelation as a work, as a project for myself, an art project for myself, it was an idea. It wasn't something real yet. And I was waiting for so long for this idea to be shipped to me and see the final product. So hopes become reality. Positive omen of plenitude. Well, so I think the deck is prophesying good tidings for how this deck will be received. We'll see. Well, who knows? But at least that's what it's saying. It will be well received. Gloria Mundi is the muse for poets, writers, artists, and musicians. Mother Goddess is proud of you. The heavens shine blessings upon your life path. The Empress also embodies the spirit of rhetoric. So, I mean, I'm going to be filming these videos and chatting and talking a lot all weekend because I'm trying to get this out to you. So there will be a lot of rhetoric involved over this weekend. So that's very interesting as well. I won't read the rest. I mean, you can read it for yourself. I don't want to bore you. So that's how you do one card readings with the SKT. If you're using the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelation Edition for study, social studies, witchy social studies, and you have a copy of the Book of Maps, one way to kind of get little bite-sized nuggets of study material is to let the deck guide your study path, right? So for example, all right, what do I want to learn today? SKT Revelation Edition, hey friend, I call my deck my friend. What do I want to learn today? So I pull a card, and I pull the three of cups, 3 of chalices. This is the kindred. So then I pick up my book of maps and I look up the kindred in here, and I just sit back and I read the entire section on the Three of Chalices, the kindred. It's something in there about the Norse Viking culture that this is representing. If there's anything there that's just, I really want to learn more about, then you can go into the back of the book where I have all of the citations. So the back of the book will have all the citations. You go to the section on Europe, Greco-Roman influence, the Occident, Occident meaning West, Orient meaning East. And so you will read that entire section just to get a sense of the cultural and historic context of the region. And then you get to the actual citations. And it's very easy. Just run down the list and find the texts, the books or the papers that relate specifically to the culture region that you just pulled. And then that's how you can do more in-depth research if you so choose. Finally, another very fun thing to do is to see the life path number associated with your tarot deck. Every single deck comes with a certificate of authenticity, hand signed and numbered by me. You will see the number on your card. Mine is 36. That's neat. So you know how to do life path number calculations, right? You add up the digits. If it's over 9, you do a theosophical reduction down until it's a number 1 through 9. So 36, 3 plus 6 is 9. So this deck is a life path number 9. You can look inside the little white booklet. Go to the realm of nines. Nines is culminating. Realm of dream consciousness, where psychic and shamanic powers arise. The source where magic begins. Threshold between spheres of space-time. Nines are God's strong ones. You can look at other ones. For example, if the life path number associated with your certificate of authenticity is 4s, building, the architects and builders establishing order from chaos. Here are keepers of the divine plan, chiefs of reason and virtue. And if you was a 6, right? Like if your tarot deck is a 6, the peacemakers who seek greater purpose, emanating of heart-centered consciousness. And it goes on, the residents of ascended masters. So that's just for fun. That's for funsies, nothing serious. Don't take it too seriously. Even though authorial intentions, meaning the deck creator or the artist's original intentions, do not matter. In case you are curious, I do want to talk a little bit about my very specific intentions for this deck. When I set out to create this deck, I wanted it to not just be a deck for divinatory readings, deck for studying, but also a talisman. So when you're reading with this deck, in terms of what I put into this deck as a practitioner of craft, I wanted the deck to be proactive in terms of being able to emanate energy, emanate out something like a talisman or a charm, and be able to protect you in the event that it catches you in a bad situation. So just trying to share with you my perspective and take from this what you will, or take nothing out of it. But what I was intending to try to do is to put as much magic as I could into this deck to really call upon the greater powers above to make sure that this deck would be interactive in a divinatory setting. So when you're reading with this deck, it would be able to, if it catches you in a situation that is a little bit precarious, it will emanate out an energy, shield and protect and safeguard you, or really give you some really strong, like mama, grandma advice, right? To say, look, sweetheart, you are no, like, come back here, right? That kind of feeling was what I was hoping to be able to do with this deck, so that it was a talisman in addition to being a divinatory tool. Does that make SKT Revelation a fluffy deck? Maybe.